My husband wanted to test out the podcast equipment. So we were doing like a fake podcast, and he asked me a question. And the question was, what is the importance of time? I said, I want to get to the point of like Mariah Carey. There's no concept of time. I think that that's such an interesting way to live, to think, to be, because we're programmed to time mentally, physically, emotionally. Even we always feel like we're running out of time or there's never enough time. And if you think about how God operates, how his timing doesn't ever make sense but it always works out. He's not linear. He's not going to operate on a timeline that we may have designed down here. He's not going to operate in a way that we think he should. And sometimes God's timing means you want to be asleep, but he's got you up with a new idea at 4:02 in the morning. The way God works is interesting, because sometimes we want what we're working for right now, and it doesn't come maybe until 10 or 15 years later, and then we realize, well, if I had gotten it right now, I would not have been ready for it like I am today, right? 10 to 15 years later, or whenever it is. And so the way God operates, there's no timeline. He's eternal. He's coming. There is a when, but I don't want to operate on a basis of I'm running out of time. I want a house by 35. I want kids by such and such a date. Like, I don't want to think like that. I don't want to operate in that way anymore, because it creates worry. It creates stress. It creates frustration when you don't hit the goal or the deadline, and you have to just keep shifting it or moving it. You fall into the negatives of life, in a sense. You kind of fall into that because you're basing your life, you're basing your dreams, goals, accomplishments, whatever. You're basing that all on time. Now, I do believe that we don't have all the time in the world, and we can't squander the time that we have here on this earth. But I don't want to operate and move and exist based on time. I'd rather move and exist based on if I'm living my life according to the word, based on if I'm helping someone who needs help, I'm preaching to someone who needs to hear about Jesus, I'm discipling, I'm creating disciples. I want to live my life in that manner, because a lot of this is a mental game. Do I have to get my kid to school by a certain time? Yes. But I don't want to let that determine my life. I want to be intentional with my time here, but I also don't want that to rule my life and determine my emotions and determine my outcome, because God determines all of that. And he's eternal. In eternal, there is no timeline. It's forever. And that's how he operates. He operates as forever. And that's crazy, because when you know, and he's all knowing, when you know that you are, I am that I say I am, right? When you know that you are forever, what timeline do you need to operate on? And if I know I'm serving a God that is forever, when I know that my home is not here, why would I stress and worry? Why would I do that when I know God is forever? So I'm not squandering my time, but I'm not going to let time rule me. And I think that's how so many of us live every day. We let time rule how we think, how we move, how we operate. And again, I know that we have to do things, be at work at a certain time, kids at school at a certain time. I get that, but we don't have to let it rule us. We don't have to let it determine the course of our lives. I think that's so important, when we can release the bondage of time and operate in the forever. I feel like we'd have a different outcome in life, something that's more beautiful, intentional, everlasting. So that's all.